Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. Now we will start with today's topic. After the last episode, when I shared the content about minimalist life, I also received a lot of positive responses from you. Many of you wanted me to share more about this topic, especially applying it. Applied to minimalist life with other aspects of life besides the material aspect. So today I will do another episode on this topic. Well, in this episode, I will go deeper into sharing with you guys about the roots, the philosophy of minimalist living so that from there we can apply it to other aspects of life, and I will start. The beginning of this is related to my professional work. If you follow and watch the first episodes I share, you will know. My professional job is managing and building digital products. This is quite interesting work. If you want to learn more about these professional fields, you can review previous episodes. In this professional job, I often tell my employees to make a product that has every feature, so anyone can make that product, and I often call the way of making that product a product lazy, because it doesn't require the team to think much. If you have any idea in mind, just take it into the product, and sometimes you don't even need to have an idea anymore. Just listen to one side a little and then the other a little bit, and then just put all those ideas into your products, and usually such products will not be successful. On the contrary, the most difficult thing about making a successful product is how to find out what the most valuable features are for users so that you can focus all your company's capabilities on those features. To do this, it requires the product maker to spend more effort. Very much they have to go through the stages of testing, gain experience, and then optimize everything. Only through such a thorough screening process can we find the important features. Then from there we can create products that, although they look simple, they focus maximally on what brings value to the user, and from there it creates the best experience for the user. Going back to the topic we are talking about, in a certain aspect, our lives will be the same if we do not find our own value so that we can focus on what we value. Our life, it will easily lead to the result that our life will be littered with many things, most of which are that it does not create value for ourselves or is bad. There are things that have a negative impact on our lives. Think of a way that our life is also a product. In fact, it is the most important product that we must design and operate optimally so that it can create for us. To find the most valuable thing, and similar to making products, to do this requires us to spend a lot of effort to think and find, but if we do not take the time and if we put in the effort to do this, sometimes our lives will turn into a potpourri like those poor quality products, and through that example I will share with you a philosophy to draw from. Came out after many years of living a minimalist life. Let's call it a definition. Minimalism is the journey in which we gradually filter out things that do not create value so that we no longer have to waste useless energy on those things. And from there it opens the way for us to focus on living with the things that are most valuable to our lives. And that, in my opinion, is the root of the philosophy of minimalist life. Now from that root we see that every time we learn about minimalist life, what we most often see is the material aspect of ownership. These aspects are also based on the philosophy. Now let's try to dissect why this is so. In the previous episode, I talked about the example of suits and why minimalists encourage owning less material things. The reason is that they determined that owning 100 sets of clothes does not make their lives better, but on the contrary, it makes their lives more expensive, more wasteful, and most importantly, making their lives heavier and thereby losing their freedom. There will be people like me. After I review, I see that my needs only require 3 sets, so I will eliminate them. The other 97 sets are out of my life so that I can focus on the quality of those 3 sets, and with that I have a lighter and freer life. But there are people who only need 1 set. Then they will get rid of the remaining 99 sets and they have an even easier life than me, and in those cases there are some people in their life who don't want it. Use suits too. Then they won't own any suits. Then they will remove the entire category of suits from their ownership list, and from there they will be free to use that extra money so they can buy other types of items and then enjoy those clothes. And all these examples are based on us going back. We find out what is the thing that will make us happy, what do we need and what do we want, and the important thing is how much we want. After finding that important answer, then we will live to fit our needs. We don't live more, but we also don't live less. We sometimes live in minimalism. They keep chasing the smaller quantity of items, the better, but sometimes it is lower than their needs, which in my opinion is not right. I need 3 sets and will own exactly 3 sets. If I need 1 set, I will own exactly 1 set, but for those who don't need to wear this type, they will not own this set so that they can have more space to own things that create more value and joy. For them, that is the core of the minimalism philosophy of life. We find the root of our needs and we live just enough with those needs. Not more but not necessarily less. But once you understand the essence of the philosophy, you can apply it to all aspects of life, not just the immaterial ones. And in the next part 1 will share with you some ways that I have applied minimalist life and other aspects of myself. The first and most obvious example is that I apply using minimalism in your professional work. If you have learned about the field of user interfile design, you all know that a quality interfile will always be a simple interfile. The simpler it is, the better it will be. The more difficult it is to design, and the same goes for product management, as I said in the introduction. After all, the nature of product management work is to find the answer to which features create the most value for users so that we can focus on all the benefits. Focus your efforts on those features and ignore all other miscellaneous features. Well, about this, Mr. Steve Jobs said a very famous sentence that is simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make less simple. But it's worth it in the end, because once you get there, you can move mountains. This sentence roughly translates to mean that simplicity is more difficult than complexity. We have to try really hard to keep our minds really alert to be able to create simplicity and results. After all, it's quite worth it to apply minimalism to professional work. In addition, we can also apply minimalism to management work. In my work, I work with a lot of leaders. Big and small businesses have even new startup information. I have witnessed many business owners immediately after establishing their company begin to structure their personnel and begin filling those positions immediately. Those people forget what the needs are in that stage. Usually in the initial stage, the biggest need is to refile their business model, their ideas and their products to see. It's really about your needs, is it there or not, and then what do you do? And for every file, it doesn't need a whole machine to do it. Sometimes it only needs one founder, or at most, just a few more partners is enough. In terms of running a slightly larger company, there are many founders who have found a reasonable business model, and when the company starts to grow a little more, by default they start thinking about what they want to do. We'll borrow additional capital from venture capital funds. Meanwhile, not all business models are suitable for venture capital funds. This path is only suitable for schools that want to build businesses with a very fast growth rate. It can be up to several 100% a year. From there they can create a really big company, and obviously not all companies are of this type. Not every business wants to change the world. Sometimes we just need to create a moderate business that has a positive cash flow enough to create income for ourselves and our employees and in the future. In this case, we do not necessarily have to seek capital from venture capital funds. These are two small examples of people who are following old mistakes and forgetting their true needs. And then they embrace things that are beyond their real needs. In this case, I think the philosophy of minimalist living can help them go back to determining what they need, what they want, and first and foremost, and build everything based on the foundation there. Likewise, the philosophy of minimalist living, in my opinion, can also be applied to love and family matters, because each person has different needs in life and the people they want to build. Build a family that wants to have children and they enjoy raising children. But there are some people who just need a partner who can share the ups and downs of life to accompany them to the end. Land, and that's all they need. They don't need to build a family with lots of children and grandchildren. And there are also some people who focus on their ambitions and dreams in their work and in their lives. In this case, maybe they only need one girlfriend or boyfriend so they can share a little joy and sadness. That's enough. And because each person has a different need in life. So the key need is to determine what you really want. Only then will it make your life not difficult to breathe. And more importantly, it also does not leave people around unaffected. Due to some reasons, society often leads us to live according to inertia. We live, we grow up, we have to get married, then of course we have to have children, then we have children, then we enjoy family life, and so on. We live according to a common formula, and sometimes we forget to ask what we really need and what we want. Can you imagine that there would be nothing more harmful than people in the third group who want to focus on their career and ambitions but have to focus on their family life? Is the life of people in the first group. These people will suffer personally because they cannot do what they want, and at the same time they have to do what they do not want and beyond. Is that they go to work for the people around them and will suffer all because they cannot determine what they want, what is enough for them. Looking around, we will also see some cases where they only need one thing. Just a girlfriend, but they brought the whole wife home. making it awkward for both of them. Now let's try the opposite case, and also with those people who spend 80% of their life for work and 20% of their time for love. Now suppose they live according to their needs. They can spend most of their time on work and they have a partner. And this partner only needs 20% of his time for love, and if they work together, there will be 2 more happy people. Instead of having another unhappy family, these needs can change depending on the stage in life. Maybe in our 20s, our needs are in the 3rd group, but in our 30s, as we age, our needs shift to the 2nd group, then by the age of 40, our needs may be in the 1st group. So this change is normal. When our needs change, this change is completely normal. If our needs change, we can increase or decrease it depending on the level. That's how much it is, but also for that reason, in the episode about Amma, I said that constantly going back and checking to see what you want is a very important thing and should be done. Do it regularly, otherwise it is very easy to live by inertia. The important thing is that it will always remind us to clearly determine what we want, what we need, where we need to go, where we need to go. Then I place a call there. I don't take more and I don't take less. Another aspect that we can use the minimalist living method that we know how to apply is the financial aspect, in the series of articles on financial freedom that I shared with you in previous episodes. In fact, it is also a journey for us to determine what our basic needs are and how we live according to those needs, and from there it opens the way for what we can use. But it's redundant, so that we can use the money to do other things for us. We use it to create a safety net in case our lives fall into dire situations, and even further, we use it to build a political fortress from which it helps them free us from the influence of money. Only when we determine where our needs are can we have the freedom to do those things. And minimalism encourages us to seek answers to the question of how much money is enough to create value in life. Above are some examples where we can use the filter to filter out minimalism and apply it to different aspects of life as long as we understand the root of this filter. Then it will have many other aspects that we apply it to life. But in fact, when we understand the nature of minimalism, when we know enough, it will be the source of happiness, and minimalism is actually just that basic. If it is different, then it is not. Different in the way of development and interpretation, which makes it clearer and more realistic for modern life, but in terms of roots, it is not too far from these philosophies. Personally, I believe that in the current situation where the surrounding society is having many difficulties from the pandemic to the crisis, even in the future, I think it will not be able to return to normal right away, but the difficulties the longer it lasts. Therefore, more than ever, the minimalism life will help us overcome the difficulties in the coming period without reducing the quality of our lives, in fact, even in the moment. Normally, it will converge fully, but if we don't know enough, it will always make our lives difficult to breathe. Because if we don't know how to stop to determine what is enough, we will always run after some vague word enough, and we will never find enough. If we don't know enough, it will be the source of a lot of fatigue and sadness in life, and that, in my opinion, is the way to fully understand how life is minimalist with this motto of life. It's not just about owning 5 pairs of chopsticks and 3 bowls and setting minimalist standards here and there. Actually, if considered from a certain aspect, such goals are also a form of vanity. The point is that we live in a way that makes us happy. Not to live but to follow certain standards set by others. There are many people who live a minimalist life, but they do not understand this essential thing, and sometimes it makes them lose their way. Why do I still not feel happy after living minimalism? I hope that through what I share in today's episode, I have helped you guys understand a little better about this method of living, which is a way of living that brings a lot of value to your life. I hope it also brings value to your lives. I would like to stop this episode here. Actually, I have prepared a few more content about this minimalist life. However, this episode is a bit long, so I'll stop it here. If you find this content useful, please share it with your friends so that more people can reach your podcast. No more.